and welcome to Season 1, Episode 6 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, we've got a live com at home to Stalybridge in the Conference North. Before we get into that, though, we'll just have a little run through the games that I've played since you were last with me. Starting with the home match against Lowestoft, which was our last live com. We went 1-0 up through Kate and Felix, and then Lowestoft pulled one back through Jake Reed, and it finished 1-1. And it's kind of a worrying trend that has continued through these games where we're dominating possession, creating lots of chances, but not really converting it into wins. And as you'll see as we go on, we're kind of hanging on to top spot in the Conference North by the skin of our teeth at the moment. We did make a signing in the, well, we could call it the January transfer window. There isn't one, obviously, in Conference North, but on the 8th of January, we did bring in a young centre-back, Darcy O'Connor, 21 years old, came in from Ashton United. Really brought him in because of the fact that we'd lost Lionel Stone, and it was forcing us to play Scott Garner in defence rather than in midfield, where I quite like him. And as a result of that, we sent the young Notts County loanee back to Notts County. He just hadn't played many games. Notts County were getting whingy about it. So he's gone back to Notts County after barely playing a game for us. That's Darcy O'Connor. Probably one for the future. I don't think he's going to be a regular in the side for us this season, but quite encouraged by his stats for such a young player. He's got the potential to get quite a lot better as well, and I am starting to think about building for next season because, as I think I've mentioned before, most of our squad are out of contract at the end of the season, and because we're really struggling to get anywhere near our wage budget, I am probably going to have a massive overhaul to the squad next season. O'Connor's coming in. He's cheap because he's on non-contract basis, so we only have to pay him when he plays. We might end up converting him to a proper part-time contract over the summer if he does turn out to be one of the few defenders left at the club. But just a handy player to have around the squad. He'll make appearances here and there, but really one for next season, hopefully. Our next game, we were away to Curzon Ashton. We went 1-0 up through Dale Southwell, who luckily, now back in the side, now starting to score some goals again. He has sort of picked up where he left off. We did have a bit of an escape because Curzon Ashton did miss a penalty on the 53rd minute, but we did manage to hold on and pick up a win, although we made very hard work of it, which is kind of the theme of our wins at the moment. We then had a home game against Hensford, where they went 2-0 up before half-time. We managed to pull one back through Dele Adebola in the 52nd minute, but just couldn't grab another goal. And I mean, this one we completely dominated possession, 62% possession, created loads of chances, and just it's worrying that we're not winning these games. We're not really scoring enough goals, but more worryingly, we're conceding far too many. I think the problem is probably Alex Gott in goal, but I am searching to try and find a solution to the goalkeeping problem, and there's just no one presenting themselves at the moment. So that's probably going to be a problem we have to deal with for the rest of the season, and hopefully bring in a decent goalkeeper, either permanently or on loan in the summer to take us into next year. This game was ridiculous. This was the last game I played before today's live com. And I can't even remember how the goals went in. So we were 1-0 up after an own goal after 1 minute. But then Gloucester equalised. We then went 2-1 up through Dale Southwell. Gloucester got a penalty, making it 2-2. Dele Adebola then scored to make it 3-2, and Dale Southwell scored another one before half-time to make it 4-2 at half-time. But then Gloucester pulled one back, making it 4-3 on 75 minutes. We made it 5-3 through Dele Adebola again on 79 minutes. And then somehow, 5-3 up away from home with 10 minutes to go, we conceded another 2 goals. Their player, Obi Anuro, completing his hat-trick in the 86th minute to pick up the draw for Gloucester. I have now scouted Obi Anuro because he was very, very impressive for them in that match, and he got 3 goals and an assist. So if he's a player we can try and get hold of somehow, I think he'd be a potential Dale Southwell replacement when he inevitably goes at the end of the season. But just really disappointing with our defending in that game, and it is something we need to fix somehow. We've had our job security report for the end of January. They're still very, very impressed with my leadership of the club. Obviously, we are still top of the league. The wage budget is still a complete mess. I have looked though. If you look at our wage budget compared to the rest of Conference North, we have the second lowest wage budget of any team in the Conference North. We're paying less than £150,000 a year in wages. There are teams paying up to £500,000 a year in wages. So yes, we're over our wage budget, but to be the second lowest wages and top of the league, I think, is quite an achievement, and the board need to stop whinging about it, really. I've put this in because I know some people like to see what's going on in the wider footballing world. So this was the transfer window roundup for the UK, or probably just for England, for January. So Arsenal bringing in Kevin Gamero, Man United bringing in Bernardo Silva, and also bringing in Nabil Fekir. Man United spent £49 million in that transfer window, and Swansea strengthening with 5 players. Quite a lot of money spent in the transfer window, £186 million, which is a lot more than was spent in this summer one, obviously, because I guess it was the start of the game, and most clubs were happy with their squads from the pre-game signings. We were supposed to be playing AFC Telford in this episode as a live com, but that game was postponed because of a waterlogged pitch. So that's why we're now middle of February playing our first match of the month, and that's where we are in the league table. So that nice big lead that we had has really sort of gone away to nothing. We're top by goal difference, by 1 goal over Nuneaton. It is very much looking like we're imploding, which is a bit of a problem. We've been top of the table, I think, since the very first game, and yeah, it would be a massive disappointment for us to fall away now, especially as we've got Southwell back in the side. We are still scoring a lot of goals, playing very well going forward, but for whatever reason, just defensive frailties are really affecting us at the moment, and it is something of a problem that we need to find a way to deal with. Before we get into the match, though, a few people in the comments have asked for a little recap, run through of my squad, as we are over the midpoint of the season now, but just to see who's who, remind you of the stats of each of the players, and also have a look at how they've developed on the training as the season's gone on. So if we just quickly run through the squad, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on every player in detail, so if there's anyone you particularly want to look at, just pause the video and you can have a look through their stats. But Alex Scott, it seems cruel to have him as the target for our defensive problems. He is only a 20-year-old goalkeeper, and he is improving. He's improved his aerial reach, his positioning, and his strength as the season's gone on. But I think he's got the potential to be a very good goalkeeper at this level. But really, in an ideal world, he'd be our backup goalkeeper, and we would have someone a little bit more experienced and a little bit more effective. Which, if that goalkeeper presents himself anytime soon, we'll definitely bring him in. And Gott, I could see if we were still at this sort of level in 2 or 3 seasons' time, I could certainly see Gott then emerging as a very good goalkeeper at this level. This is probably a season or two too soon for him to be a first-choice goalkeeper for a top team in this division. Zach Mills, our defender. It says his best position is centre-back. I haven't played him there at any point yet. I'm playing him as a right-back, mainly because he's comfortably the best right-back we've got at the club. He's also improving in his training as the season goes on, and he's having a pretty good season so far. Pretty happy with him at right-back. Scott Garner. I want to be playing this guy in the ball-winning midfielder role, but because of the injury to Lionel Stone, just haven't really had the opportunity to do that. I guess I could potentially move Mills across to centre-back and bring in Grant Roberts again at right-back, who was playing there earlier in the season, to get Garner further forward. And I think he does make a difference further forward, breaking attacks up before they get through to the defence. He's not quite as effective as a centre-back, but that's where he's been playing for probably the last couple of months while Stone's been injured, and that has really coincided with the amount of goals we're conceding increasing. So hopefully, as Stone makes his way back to full fitness, we can move Garner back into midfield, and that might start to stop some of the defensive problems that we're suffering from. Carl Piergiani, the other centre-back, it says all his stats are decreasing. It's not quite as simple as that, because a lot of them did increase earlier in the season, and he's still playing very well for us. I'm very happy with him. He's a very good defender for this level, and would probably be good enough to play in the Conference National as well if we were to get promoted. He's only 23 years old as well, so plenty of opportunity for him to get better. And very happy with him. The big problem with him is just how much money he's earning, £325 a week, when we have such a small wage budget. Whether or not we're able to keep him around next season, he is on contract for another season, but if we got an offer for him from anyone, it would be very difficult to turn down, especially as his value is quite high as well. We could realistically expect to get £25,000, £30,000 for him. To bring in that kind of money and lose that wage. He's one of the reasons why we brought in Darcy O'Connor as a backup, because I can see us having to sell Carl Piergiani as time goes on, especially if we don't get promoted. Kelly Yuga, and there's been a couple of comments in the chat about this guy. He has been a bit of a disappointment. Brought him in with the expectation that he'd be quite dominant as a left back at this level. Hasn't really established himself as a real top fullback in Conference North. Which is a little bit disappointing. He's still probably the best left back we've got at the club, but not by the kind of margin I was hoping from him. And realistically, probably going to let him go in the summer and give Dylan Casey the opportunity to really make the left back position his own next season. Kyle Dixon, our absolute sort of top player outside of Dale Southwell. He's had an excellent season playing in central midfield as the advanced playmaker. He's played very well. He's created lots of goals. It would be nice for him to add scoring goals to his game. It's not something that's really happening as of yet, but if he can add scoring goals to his excellent overall play, I could see this guy making it maybe as high as League Two. He's still very young, 21 years old, definitely with the potential to get better, and we would be a much worse team without him in the side. Ben Marlowe has probably been the surprise of the season. He's only really come into the side since Lionel Stone's been injured. He's been playing in that ball-winning midfielder role that Scott Garner had been playing in previously. And he's been playing quite well there. He's now one of the, I think he's third for tackles won in the whole of Conference North. And for a player who's not particularly good on his tackling stat, it's quite impressive, and he's improving in all the right areas for a ball-winning midfielder as well. His anticipation, concentration, strength, it's all improving, and with him being so young, again, has the potential to become a very good central midfielder at this level. Whether or not he'll stay in the side once Stone's fit and Garner's able to move further forward again, he probably won't, but he's definitely benefited from having a good run in the side over the last 2 or 3 months. Kane Felix, very, very important. Tied him down to a new contract for next season. And certainly with Southwell looking like he's going to be leaving, this guy is going to be our main man next season. He's an excellent winger at this level. Very, very quick. His acceleration has dropped off ever so slightly, but still lightning quick for this level. Very good winger. Has created loads and loads of chances. He's top of the assists table for Conference North at the moment. He's only 20 years old. And again, only going to get better, so very happy to have him around the squad. Dele Adebola, got to be the surprise of the season. Brought him in just for a little bit of experience and as an option to have as the target man. He's been virtually ever present, scored lots of goals, and somehow at 40 years old is improving in training as well. His physical stats are all dropping off, his agility, his pace, his strength, but everything else is improving. He's getting better at his finishing, his concentration. Sorry, not his concentration, that's reducing, but his composure, decisions, his long shots, his positioning, and overall it's sort of balancing out. So yeah, he's getting a little bit slower and less dominant in the air and less dominant physically, but just becoming a better footballer while he's doing it. So I don't know, could we get another season out of him? It seems mad at 40 years old to be thinking that he could be around for another season yet, but he's been such a good player for us that if he's willing to do it, and especially if we're still in this division, I can see him still being at the club next year. Dale Southwell, the main man. 15 goals in 17 games now, improving all the time, still only 22 years old, should be playing at a higher level. Conference National might not even be a high enough level for him. He's probably a League Two quality striker. So I'm still hopeful that if we get promotion, he might decide to stick around for another season and sign a new contract. I have had a couple of comments suggesting that we should probably just sell him now, try and get a bit of money in and bring in a replacement. Honestly, I don't think we'd bring in a replacement as good, and I'd rather have his goals for the rest of the season and have a good go at getting promoted, rather than losing him and then potentially not getting promoted by trying to bring in an untried striker to take over his spot. Lionel Stone, been a big miss while he's been injured. He's had a couple of injuries back to back, but very important player. His stats are all down a little bit because he's not really played for a couple of months, but once he's fit again, would expect him to walk straight back into the side. Very important defender at this level. Has had a very good season. He's only 20 years old. Also earning a lot of money, but he's here for another year as well, similar to Piergiani. And the two of them combined are a very, very good central defensive partnership at this level and give us the option to play Garner that little bit further forward. Joey Johnson, a bit of a disappointment, really. Yes, he's young, but he's not scoring goals the way we would hope him to. He's not progressing as a player the way we'd hope him to, and probably we'll be looking to move him on in the summer and bring in a couple of better options. Assuming Southwell leaves, we need to bring in probably 2 or 3 decent strikers over the summer, because Adebola's going to struggle to play a full season next year if he's still around. Southwell is almost certainly going to be leaving, and we just don't have the backup strikers to replace either of them. And Johnson has had plenty of chances while Southwell was injured and just hasn't established himself in the side. So we'll probably be looking to move this guy on. Dylan Casey, another surprise really. He's played pretty well as left back. He's developing quite well as a player, and would expect to see him challenge Kelly Yuga for a spot even before the end of this season. But certainly next year I would be quite happy to move Yuga on and have Dylan Casey as our first choice left back for next season. And then Grant Roberts, our utility man. He's played everywhere for us this season, really. Started the season at right back, moved into central midfield when Garner was out for a little while, then moved over to right midfield when we needed him over there. He's happy to play in any of those positions. Very handy player to have around, but not first choice in any position. So whether or not we can afford the luxury of paying someone £180 a week who's not going to be a guaranteed starter, that's the question looking into next season, whether or not he stays at the club. But on the whole, been very happy with the contributions he's made when he's been in the side. So let's get into today's match. As I say, we're at home to Stalybridge. We are top. They're 21st. This should be a match that we can win and win comfortably, and hopefully start to re-establish ourselves as the best team in the division. If we don't win this match today, I don't see how automatic promotion is going to be a possibility. And with the way our form has been falling off, unless we have a massive turnaround in fortunes in the last 5 or 6 games, I can't see us winning the playoffs either. So this game takes on a huge amount of importance for us. This is the team we're going for. So got in goal, first choice defence of Yuga, Piergiani, Garner and Mills. Lionel Stone's still not quite fit enough to come back in, so we're going to keep Ben Marlow in central midfield alongside Kyle Dixon. And then Felix and Hartley out wide, and Adebola and Southwell up front. That is, aside from Stone, our first choice side. So I would hope that's going to be enough to pick up a win against one of the weaker teams in the division. The media certainly think that's going to be possible. So let's get into the game. So yes, we're the favourites. We need to go out and win this match. Yeah, come on, let's pick up a convincing win at home. It's been a little while since we've played. Hopefully the rest will have done the team good, and we can come out of this with a good win. So Mills has got the ball out wide, gets the cross in. It's knocked away, but back out to Mills. Can he cross in again? No, he finds Hartley, who finds Dixon, and then Felix, and Felix is offside. And it was good to see Felix getting into those kind of positions, though, drifting away from that left wing and getting himself into a goal-scoring opportunity. That's something that would be fantastic for Felix to add to his game. Similar to Dixon, really, in that both of them, if they could add scoring goals to their game, they'd probably end up being too good for us. But Yuga's got the ball out wide now. Finds Felix, who can't quite beat his man, but it falls back out to Mills again, who finds Dixon. Dixon to Adebola, back out to Mills. Can he cross in here to Southwell? And now Hartley to Southwell, and it's wide for another corner. That was a clear-cut chance, though. We really need to work on these corners as well. We've not scored very much from corners all season, so really need to work on my set pieces. Whatever we're doing at the moment isn't quite working, so I probably need to give that a tweak at some point. We're apparently being overrun in midfield, which seems odd. But Felix tries to find Adebola. It doesn't quite get there. And we need to get the ball back off these guys here. Hits it forward to Felix. Felix wanting to run at the man, but finds Dixon. Adebola to Southwell. The ball just seems to be bouncing off Southwell a little bit today. He's had a couple of chances now. Hopefully he's not finding his good run of form coming to an end, because that would be a disaster for us. But on another day, Southwell would have had probably a couple by this point, because he has had a couple of good opportunities. and it's all gone a bit quiet. Same story as we've had for quite a few games now, probably for half of the season up to this point now. We're dominating possession, we're creating a lot of chances, and we're just not taking advantage of the possession, and it is a worry. It's something we need to work on, because we shouldn't be going in 0-0 in this game at half time, because we've been the better team, we've dominated the match, but now we're giving them the opportunity to come back into it and snatch a winner or grab a draw, none of which is any good for us. We need to show we mean business in this game. Right, it's all a bit quiet again. I'm starting to think about the possibility of substitutions and who we can maybe bring on. Perhaps Lionel Stone is an option to move Scott Garner a little bit forward. We don't have much in the way of an attacking option to bring on. Joey Johnson's on the bench, but not sure whether I'd want to bring him on really, but I think we need something to liven up the attack, because we've got nothing happening going forward at all. And Dale Southwell not having a good game, and I think we will bring Joey Johnson on, give him yet another opportunity to try and score a goal, try and start to establish himself. Felix is also having a pretty poor game, so I think we'll bring on Jack Williams, our backup left winger, and just hope that perhaps a couple of fresh faces and showing two of our better players that they're not automatics to stay on for the whole match might just spur them on to improve performances in future games. I think we are going to bring Stone on for Marlowe now and bring Garner further forward, just to try and reduce the chances of a last-minute disaster with them picking up a winner. But really, we need to be winning this game ourselves, and it is a worry that it's looking like it's going to be a 0-0 ball draw, and this could be the end of our title push, really, if we can't pick up a winner. Dixon's got the ball now back to Stone, who just launches it at Adebola and it doesn't get anywhere near him. And we need to win the ball back. That's why Garner's been moved forward, and he's let the player go past him there, and this is looking dangerous, and this is not good at all. And we've been very lucky there. That's sort of been scooped off the line by, I don't even know who. I don't think it was the goalkeeper. But we shouldn't be the team scratching around with goal line clearances with 5 minutes to go in this sort of game. And that is a worry, because I think that's going to finish 0-0. And having scored 5 goals in the last game away from home, we've now come home and not managed to pick up a goal at all. And I imagine we've now lost top spot for the first time all season, which is not the time to start losing ground on our opponents. So we'll play another couple of games and then come back for another live com for tomorrow's episode. If you've liked today's episode, make sure you pop a like on there. It would be good to get all of these early episodes up into the 50s. And if you want to make sure you don't miss out on the future episodes, pop a subscribe on there as well. Thanks very much for watching.